Ah, childhood, when your brain was firing on all cylinders and you could solve problems before your teacher even finished explaining them. You were the kid who knew all the answers, could recite the entire periodic table by heart, and was basically a walking encyclopedia. You were smart. You got top marks, were probably the class president, and teachers whispered about you in the hallway as the next Einstein. Fast forward a couple of decades, and now you can't even remember where you put your keys. Heck, sometimes you forget your own name when you wake up from a nap. What happened to that brilliant little mind? Why did you go from child genius to adult who Googles how to open a jar? Well, first off, let's take a moment to remember the environment that created you, the child brainiac. When you were younger, everything was fresh, and you were constantly absorbing new information. Your brain was a sponge that sucked up knowledge faster than a toddler with a cookie jar. But here's the catch. Those school systems that made you feel like the smartest kid in the room may have done more harm than good in the long run. I know, shocking, right? But hang with me. Back in school, they didn't teach you how to be creative or how to think critically. Oh no, they taught you how to memorize stuff. Stuff you'll probably never use again. Here, memorize this long list of dates and names, because who needs practical life skills when you can tell me the exact moment Napoleon sneezed during the Battle of Waterloo? Forget problem solving or developing real-world skills. The system was all about regurgitating information. And so, for years, your brain was overloaded with facts that, while cool at the time, didn't really have staying power. Fast forward to adulthood, and now you're sitting there thinking, wait, I used to be able to solve this in my sleep, but now, am I even awake? And let's talk about the attention span issue. Remember when you could sit down for hours, focus, and get lost in a book or your homework? Now, if you try to focus on something for more than 5 minutes, you find yourself asking, did I leave the oven on? You've got 40 things bouncing around in your head, and half of them are about food, because adulthood has made you obsessed with thinking about what you'll eat for dinner at 2 p.m. You have the attention span of a goldfish, which, by the way, is an actual scientific fact. Human attention spans have decreased by a full 4 seconds since the year 2000. Let me put that in perspective for you. You now have less focus than a goldfish. So next time you can't remember what you were doing 5 minutes ago, just remember, you're competing with fish for mental capacity. Congrats. But of course, the biggest culprit in this decline is stress. As a child, you had zero stress. Your biggest issue was whether you could finish your homework before Saturday cartoons came on. But as an adult, stress is now your middle name. From work deadlines to worrying about your car insurance, you're constantly operating in survival mode. And it turns out, stress is the ultimate villain when it comes to brain function. You're essentially running on a broken brain treadmill, and it's getting harder and harder to think clearly. When you're stressed, your body releases cortisol, a hormone that's great for getting you through a fight or flight situation, like, say, when you need to escape a bear or outrun a zombie. But if that cortisol sticks around too long, like it does in adulthood, thanks to all the life responsibilities, it actually shrinks the part of your brain responsible for memory. So, when you're looking around for your car keys in the morning, and your brain says, I can't help you with that, I'm too busy freaking out about taxes, you now know who to blame. It's that good old cortisol. And let's not forget about the pressure of adulthood. When you were a kid, you had time. Time to dream, time to play, time to get lost in a day's worth of nothingness. But now, you're squeezing every second out of your day, trying to get everything done while barely staying awake. You're working, multitasking, and probably drinking enough coffee to kill a small elephant. Your brain is so overstimulated, it can barely remember to stop for a bathroom break, let alone focus on anything longer than a 15-second video. Multitasking, it's become a survival tactic, but guess what? Studies show multitasking actually lowers your IQ. So, next time you try to juggle your work, your phone, and a half-eaten sandwich, remember, you're actually making things worse. You're not being a genius, you're just creating more mental chaos. Oh, and did I mention the lack of physical activity? When you were a kid, you probably ran around like a maniac, burning off all that excess energy. But now, you're sitting all day, moving from one chair to another, convincing yourself that the 30-minute walk to your car counts as exercise. The lack of physical movement directly impacts your brain's performance. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, which helps you stay sharp. So yeah, sitting at your desk for hours doesn't exactly help with the whole brain power thing. Sorry to break it to you, but the next time you feel like you're losing brain cells, it's probably because you've skipped one too many walks to the fridge. Here's the kicker though. While you might feel like you've lost some of your sharpness, you're not doomed to a life of forgetfulness and confusion. Your brain is actually still capable of growing. That's right, neuroplasticity. Even as an adult, your brain is still malleable. It can form new connections and get back to work if you give it the right tools. So, here are a few ways to train that underused brain of yours, and it's not as hard as you might think. First, stop stressing out. Seriously. Take a deep breath, step away from the laptop, and just chill. Meditation, mindfulness, or even taking a walk around the block can significantly improve your ability to focus and process information. Don't skip this part. If you're constantly running around like a headless chicken, your brain won't be able to focus long enough to solve a crossword puzzle, let alone a Rubik's Cube. Next, start exercising. Yep, put down that remote and get moving. You don't need to run a marathon, but even a quick walk or some light yoga can increase blood flow to your brain, improving memory and concentration. Your brain will thank you. Finally, give your brain something to do that's a little out of your comfort zone. Learn a new skill, pick up a new hobby, or, if you're feeling ambitious, learn a new language. This will engage parts of your brain that have been collecting dust. You can't be too old to learn something new, and the more you challenge your brain, the sharper it becomes. Think of it like upgrading your brain's software. The truth is, the adult brain might not be as sharp as it was when you were a kid, but that doesn't mean you can't get it back into top shape. You just have to stop blaming the brain fog on getting older and start giving it the care it deserves. You were smart once. You can be smart again.